Well, we also do have this small matter about the National Assembly. Don't forget that they'll be winding down today, and so there'll be a lot of focus in terms of what they do. But Professor Sylvester John joins us via Skype. He's of the Political Science Department, Lagos State University. Well, Prof, first of all, yes, much as the country will be keeping an eye on the National Assembly, if you were to describe your experience or your impression about the 8th National Assembly, what would it be?
Good morning. It's not a yes or no answer. You have to look at the output in terms of legislation, which they have enacted in the last 4 years to be able to say whether they've passed or they failed. But I think essentially when you look at the number of legislations that they passed, some people have put the figure at about 300 bills which went through the National Assembly. But I think significantly you can point to about 3. The Electoral Amendment Bill, as well as the Petroleum Industry bill, which has been in the Parliament for a very long time. And of course, the so-called Not Too Young to Run bill. Those are the ones that stand out. And a monthly of the bills are those that have to empower the executive one way or the other. So when we look at those 3 major ones, of what consequence are they to the Nigerian polity? The Electoral Amendment Bill, though passed, was not assented to by the president. And so it was not utilized in the last general elections. And of course, the Petroleum Industry Bill has gone through several, amendments or adjustment from the executive side. Then the Not Too Young to Run bill was signed. But of course, it did not, alter the political climate significantly. Although I have argued on my own that when you talk about not too young to run, the youth of this country have never been, shut out from the political process. If you look at from even pre-independence period to date, the average mean age or the mean age for those who run public affairs is about 40, and some of them ascended the leadership of the country under 30. And so, whereas we can argue that there was an elite closure, of the political space because of the long period we had under military rule, but to say that the youth have been shut out, significantly is not historically correct. So the National Assembly, though they've tried to, pass a lot of bills, motions, resolutions, and all of that, we have to ask, what is the significance of those resolutions and bills on the average life, of a Nigerian, on the life of an average Nigerian? So we are not seeing that significant improvement. So these are the issues. Sometimes you then ask yourself, where is the repository of power, within the Nigerian polity? Is it the executive or is it the National Assembly? Theoretically, we know that within a democratic setting, the engine room of democracy is supposed to be the parliament. So have they been, or they've been overseen by the high-handedness of the executive arm of...
Well, but Prof, if I could jump in, because if you say that what is the significance of those bills in terms of the effect it has on the lives of the people, whether or not it improves it, does that take away from the core function of the National Assembly, which is to make laws? And they will also argue, they can argue that, look, when we make laws, we don't enforce our laws. So they can't blame us for making laws that maybe the executive or the police don't enforce.
That's a very good question. But the parliament has, much power than that. For example, if the executive is not performing its statutory role, the National Assembly has the powers, of impeachment. The president can be impeached for not carrying out its own statutory functions. But what have they done about that? Also, beyond that, the parliament also retain a veto. They can veto, bills which they have passed, which the president refused to assent to. They have that powers, but they have not, of course, weeded any of that. It trying to ensure that, the consequence of the bills that they have passed.
Prof, I put the same question to some members in the National Assembly. I said, but these laws are there, so what's the problem? Just to seek knowledge and get the backstory. And they explained that, well, yes, much as that may be the case, and it's happened to some bills, but this particular period, it was difficult for them to form a quorum and get that consensus. And so they couldn't veto any of those bills. So on paper, it looks good, but in practice, it could be tricky.
Well, I mean, you have a point there. You have a point. But of course, in politics is about power struggle. It's about power struggle. The leadership of the National Assembly ought to muster the required number to do that. And you don't do that by sitting down or by granting press statements, or press releases to the media. You have to do some form of persuasions, some caucusing to be able to bring, have the required, number that you need to effect any change within the National Assembly or within the polity. Let me recall at one point in time, not the 8th Assembly, the 8th National Assembly. I think about the 5th or the 5th or the 6th. I acted as a rapporteur in a joint conference between the Senate and People's Daily or so in Abuja at that time. Some of the senators were saying that they were helpless. And I then posed the question, where lies for them if you, who are the senators, who are supposed to make bills, pass bills for Nigeria, make laws for Nigerians, you are helpless? So I began to ask the question then, whether power lies somewhere that we don't know. Is it solely within few individuals that people have referred to as the cabal, or within the executive, as an arm of the state?
Professor, what you just said now suggests that governance is subjugated to politics.
No, of course, you can't. When you talk about politics, our whole primary definition of politics is that politics deals, with the state. It's about studying the studying of the state and its, dynamics. And so you are not far from the truth when you say the whole affairs of politics.
Yeah, well, from what you also said earlier, that one would wonder if there was a common agenda that the executive and the legislature in the 8th National Assembly pursued together, because there was a lot of rancor in the between the two arms of government in the dispensation that just passed. Do you think there was a common agenda that they pursued, or everyone was just trying to be relevant?
No, I think you are right about that question. The National Assembly and the executive worked at cross purposes. Of course, majority of them are from the ruling party, and you expect that there ought to be consensus, and synchronization of policies at that level. But the election that led to the leadership of the National Assembly, was controversial. And that was the beginning, of course, what we call the cat and mouse game between the National Assembly and the executive. And that, of course, ran throughout the whole life of the 8th Assembly. And that the leadership was subject to some form of, judicial handling at the end of the day.
All right, Professor, we'll come back to you in just a moment. Don't go away.
Yeah, Professor, I was just want to get your views to the submissions of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, when he said that this is the best performing assembly since the advent of democracy in this country.
I think Honorable Dogara was talking in terms of the quantity of the bills that they passed, at the 8th Assembly. Because if you just oppose it with the previous assemblies, you will discover that, some of them in terms of output, about 47 bills, 149 bills, and so on. So in terms of quantity, it could be said that it was the best, or it is the best performing National Assembly in terms of just looking at mere quantity of the bills that they've passed. But I think that we're not talking about quantity, we're talking about consequence. how have those bills passed impacted on the lives of Nigerians? That's the real issue. No, you can't point to a significant impact that those bills have made. Of course, as I said before, the electoral amendment bill probably that would have underscored the last election as one of the best in the country was not ascended to by the president. And of course, the election, as you know, despite the fact that the president has been inaugurated, is still controversial. And many analysts believe that, of course, the election was anything but free and fair. So those issues are there. Now, the question of insecurity in the country. I know, for example, that the Senate tried to convey a conference on, the security situation in the country. But that has not altered, the situation in the country. Increasingly, the security of lives and property in Nigeria is gravely endangered. And so, again, what is the take for them? What would they say they have done in that regard? Holding a conference? I mean, people are holding talk shops everywhere about the security. But the executive, who has, the powers to implement and put things, put troops on ground to ensure that the security situation in Nigeria is, is under control, have not done anything that Nigeria can say, has impacted on the security situation in the country. So, on all scores, of course, let me also make this point. I think they also talk about some of the bills they passed to ensure that goods that are manufactured in Nigeria, take precedence over what is imported into the country. And they argue that they have grown the GDP, of non-oil exports to about 2.3 or so. Again, that may be a good point. But of course, in terms of the overall impact, it has not changed anything because the country is still reliant on earnings from crude oil export, in the country. So it is difficult to pin down, what they have done significantly. So you might be talking about, a lot of motion, but perhaps no movement.
That's a place to anchor. Professor Sylvester Odion of the Department of Political Science, Lagos State University. Thank you very much indeed for your time today on the program. And that is it today on Sunrise Daily. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Gimba Umar.
And I'm Ayo Makide.
Feels like another public holiday here in Abuja. It's raining cats and dogs. Well, enjoy your day. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.